Real Madrid against Manchester City at the Santiago Bernabéu in the first leg of their Champions League round of 16 tie. Let's start with the biggest question ahead of the game. Will Kylian Mbappé play? After traveling to Paris last week for knee tests, the forward returned to Madrid. Though reports say he's not training with the squad, but head coach Álvaro Arbeloa insists the situation is improving. Arbeloa says Mbappé is feeling much better, but the club wants to take his recovery one day at a time. So the question remains, will Mbappé play against Manchester City? If Mbappé doesn't, much of the attacking responsibility will fall on Vinicius Jr. He's also one yellow card away from suspension, which would rule him out of the second leg in Manchester. Vini is not the only one who has to be careful. Tchouaméni and Dean Huijsen are in the same situation. Another booking and they would miss the return leg at the Etihad. And that could be a real problem for Real Madrid, because the bench is already very thin. Several key players are currently out with injuries. Rodrygo has undergone surgery and suffering an ACL and meniscus injury. The Brazilian forward shared the news on his social media, confirming that he has already had the operation. At the moment, he is expected to return only next year. Also out, Jude Bellingham, Álvaro Carreras, Dani Ceballos, Eder Militao, and David Alaba. That leaves Madrid particularly short in two areas, defense and central midfield. Exactly the areas where you normally need depth against a team like Manchester City. Manchester City has less injury concerns. There were some questions about Erling Haaland as well, after missing City's FA Cup match against Newcastle at the weekend. But the Norwegian striker has returned to training. Guardiola rotated heavily for that game, making 10 changes from the previous starting lineup. Several key players were given a rest, including goalkeeper Donnarumma, the midfielders Rodrygo and Bernardo Silva. And they're expected to start against Real Madrid at the Bernabéu. But City have plenty of options going forward. Omar Marmoush, for example, gave Guardiola something to think about. After scoring a brace at St. James Park, who leads the attack remains a question. Arbeloa, meanwhile, may have even more on his mind. Losing to Pep Guardiola's side would only add fuel to the speculation about his future. The Spanish press have already started drawing a list of possible replacements, and it seems to grow longer by the day. Klopp, Pochettino, Fabregas, Allegri, even Zinedine Zidane, although he's widely expected to take over the French national team, still described as Florentino Perez's dream option. And it's not just the media setting the tone ahead of this game. The predictions either don't look particularly optimistic for Real Madrid. According to the FODMAP model, Manchester City are the favorites for the first leg, with 45.9% chance of winning. Real Madrid's chances are estimated at 29.5%. While the probability of a draw stands at 24.6. Real Madrid and Manchester City are already regular opponents in the Champions League knockout. This is the 5th season in a row they have met. Real Madrid won the last 2 ties. Overall, they have met 15 times, so the only thing left to find out is what the scoreboard will look like after the final whistle, and how both teams might line up for the first leg. Real Madrid could line up in a 4-4-2 formation. Thibaut Courtois in goal, a back four of Mendy, Rudiger, Huijsen, and Trent Alexander-Arnold. In midfield, Federico Valverde and Arda Güler, Camavinga, Tchouaméni, and up front, Vinicius Jr. alongside Gonzalo Garcia. Manchester City could line up 4-1-3-2 formation. Donnarumma in goal, a back four of Nunes, Diaz, Gueye, and Ryan Ait-Nouri. Rodri anchoring the midfield with Bernardo Silva, Ryan Cherki, and Phil Foden ahead of him. Though Nico O'Reilly is another option Guardiola could use in that role. And in attack, Antoine Semenyo alongside Erling Haaland. Though with Pep Guardiola, the exact lineup is never completely predictable. Do you agree with these starting 11s? If not, tell us your lineup in the comments.